Welcome to the UMass College of Engineering Career Center Resume Writing Workshop. In this workshop, I will walk you through the steps to create a technical resume that you can send to engineering companies. This workshop will consist of two parts. First, understanding the purpose of the resume and the recruiter's perspective when analyzing your resume, and secondly, walking you through the mechanics of writing a technical resume. The purpose of the resume is to get you an interview. The resume will never get you a job. You get a job by interviewing well. The resume just gets you in the door. Having said that, it is important for the resume to give the recruiter a positive first impression of you. The resume acts as a snapshot of your knowledge, skills, and interests. In addition, when you get an interview, the recruiter will often use your resume to guide the questions he or she asks at the interview. For all of these reasons, it is important that your resume reflect your technical skills and abilities well. The old way of thinking was that a resume was a historical document in which you listed all the jobs you've ever had in chronological order. The new way of thinking is that a resume is a strategic document that highlights your skills and abilities so that the recruiter can see how you will bring value to the company. When technical recruiters look at resumes, they are looking for specific features. First, they are looking for technical acumen in the field. They want to know what you know in terms of the specific field. Grades give the recruiter an indication of how well you learn the material that you are studying. They also look at the technical electives that you chose and the types of internships or research that you did and what types of equipment or software tools you used in those endeavors. All of these things help the recruiter to understand your technical skills and knowledge. The second attribute that recruiters are looking for is experience. Most every recruiter that I have worked with said that the students really need to get some hands-on experience before they hire them. This can be achieved through academic projects, research, internships, or co-ops. If you have not already done so, please spend some time getting hands-on experience. You can join the concrete canoe or super mileage vehicle team or ask one of the professors if you can work in the lab. The third feature that recruiters are looking for is your problem-solving skills. There is perhaps no more problem-solving profession than engineering. Every day, engineers are asked to take their knowledge of properties and processes and apply them to something that they don't know. The way you solve problems is very important to companies. They want to know that you are a systematic thinker who solves problems in a logical way. Because it is hard to measure problem-solving skills on a piece of paper, we must write the resume in a very conscientious way. I will go into more detail during the next section of the workshop when we talk about the mechanics of resume writing. Fourth, recruiters look for students who are results-driven. In industry, employers look at the bottom line, and they want to see students who understand that results are important. In your resume, make sure to demonstrate your results. For example, say, I reduced the emissions by 30% or entered the project into a design competition and won second place. Finally, recruiters are looking for technical people who have strong communication skills. These include both writing and presentation skills, as well as people who can work on multifunctional teams. I've spent a lot of time talking with you about the recruiter's perspective for a reason. You should not underestimate how important it is to look at your resume through the eyes of the recruiter. Understanding how a recruiter thinks and what they were looking for will serve you well in writing your resume and cover letter and in presenting yourself at career fairs and during interviews. Now let's move into the second phase of the workshop, writing your resume. I have laid out 7 sections which we will cover in detail. They include the header, the objective or summary statement, your education, your relevant experience, other work experience, your computer skills, and your interest and affiliations. Let's begin with the header. The resume header should include your name, address, phone number, and email address. Remember that the day you send out your first resume, you are officially on the job market. Recruiters can call you at 8 o'clock in the morning, and you will need to be prepared to talk professionally with them. Or if you don't get you and they have to leave a phone message, what kind of away message are they hearing from you? Is it appropriate for an industrial representative to hear? How about your email address? Many people use an objective to begin their resume, but I would caution against using a stale objective such as looking for an interesting job in the field of mechanical engineering. Think of your resume like New York City, prime real estate, where every word on the page is either helping or hurting your chances of getting a job. I prefer to see a summary statement which summarizes your background, skills, and experience that you would bring to a potential employer. An example of a good summary statement would be the following: a capable and passionate leader who has developed a solid technical background in the field of mechanical engineering and has demonstrated a strong commitment to innovative design. A resourceful thinker with excellent written and verbal communication skills who works effectively and creatively in both self-managed and team-based projects. Remember that whatever you say about yourself, you will need to back it up with evidence. For example, if you say that you're a good team player, the recruiter will expect to see a time when you worked on a technical team. The next slide shows two more examples of summary statements. Notice how all three of the students have different strengths and abilities. We would expect to see different things highlighted in each of these three students' resumes. For the first student, I would expect to see several team projects. With the second student, I would expect to see a high GPA because he or she talks about academic excellence. The third student is probably involved in student societies because he or she talks about leadership. The next section is very straightforward. You should list the institution, your major, when you expect to graduate, and your GPA if it is over 3.0. Companies really do look at GPA, so if it's not on there, they will assume that it is less than 3.0. Also, if you have one or two awards or scholarships, you should list them here as well. If you have several awards, you can create a new header called Honors and Awards and list them there. It is important to include your relevant courses if you are a first year through junior level student. Many companies ask for someone with specific class experience, such as thermodynamics. However, if you are a graduating senior, you should not include all of your core classes. Everyone who gets a degree in chemical engineering, for example, had to take heat and mass transfer and fluid mechanics. However, you should include your technical electives or anything that separates you from other students, such as the courses you took for a minor or specific classes in the area you are trying to get a job. The next section, relevant experience, is the most important component of your resume. You will need to spend some time here making this section as strong as possible. By relevant, I mean anything that relates to your degree, whether you got paid for it or not. This could include internships, co-ops, research experience, or class projects. The key is that if you're trying to get hired as an engineer, you must show your engineering skills, and here is the place to do it. The goal for this section is to detail your engineering-related experience in a way that highlights your problem-solving skills. So, begin by listing the name of the company, the group, or the course that you will be describing, along with the dates of when you had this experience. The first bullet should be a summary of the problem you were trying to solve in context of why solving this problem will be important or who would benefit from solving this problem. For example, if you said, designed a new seatbelt, the reader might think, so what? Seatbelts were perfected years ago. But if you said, designed a new seatbelt to be used by handicapped persons, or designed a new seatbelt to be used in mass transportation vehicles, the reader will think, okay, that's cool, how did he do it? The second, third, and perhaps fourth bullets, depending on the complexity of your project, should describe how you solved the problem. It is very important to go in a logical, linear order the steps that you took to solve the problem. In general, engineers design something, then build it, then test it. So make sure you aren't talking about testing something that you never designed. Also, this is where you get to highlight all the tools in your tool belt, such as instrumentation, software, or standard test procedures that you use to solve the problem. This section can be several bullets. However, you don't need to include every single step in the process. You can group some things together into categories. For example, you could say, perform the chemical and physical testing on the new compound, including melting point, boiling point, and viscosity. The fifth bullet is where you show your results. Remember from our earlier slide that companies are very results driven, so it is important that you include your results if you have them. Sometimes in science, results aren't always as we had hoped. Even so, you can phrase your results in a way that still highlights your critical thinking skills. For example, suppose you were synthesizing a new compound and the results did not turn out well. You could say, use the results to redesign the process, including increasing the temperature and retention time and using higher quality starting materials. Finally, the sixth bullet should show how you communicated your results both orally and in writing. You could say, wrote a technical report in regards to this research and presented the results to over 40 peers and faculty advisor. Do you hear how much better it sounds to quantify the number of people you presented to? Now the recruiter knows that you can give a presentation to a relatively large group of people. The next 3 slides demonstrate engineering experiences at 3 different levels. This first example is from a junior level civil engineering internship. Notice the focus on both the technical and the communication skills. The second example is from a sophomore mechanical engineering design class. This third example is from a student society project. And the final example is from a graduate research project. After you've completed the relevant experience section, you can include work experience, which is not engineering based. However, please note that not all work experience warrants being added to your resume. In thinking about your work experience, include those in which you are demonstrating some skills which would be transferable to an engineering career. For example, in this slide, the student was a civil engineering major who was focusing on construction. While the job at the Horticultural Service Company was not an engineering position, the student gained experience working on a construction site, looking at construction designs, dealing with clients, and honing his leadership skills. The next section of your resume should include a list of all the computer software, instrumentation, languages, standard test methods, and certifications that you have had. Some companies use keyword searches when going through large stacks of resumes, so it is important for you to list your skills. The final section should include any personal information that you feel would strengthen your resume. This could include certain interests, especially something that might be out of the ordinary, an accomplishment you're proud of, such as Eagle Scout, a leadership role that you held, or something that highlights other skills, such as editor of a newsletter or volunteering for Habitat for Humanity. Finally, when you are finished with your resume, make sure you have checked all the details, such as spelling, grammar, consistent font size, and paragraph alignment. Now, try to look at your resume with a critical eye. What does it say about you? If the majority of your resume details jobs you have had at the same welding company, then you look like a welder, not an engineer. Make sure that your resume is highlighting your engineering skills and knowledge. When you have completed your resume, please stop by the Engineering Career Center in 114 Marston and let one of our trained staff take a look at it, and we will be happy to give you feedback.